Hiya. Now this was obviously going to be at the end of the video, but for this video it's now going to be at the beginning of the video. This is going to be part, I think it's 21, with some pulleys and some keywaying. I started doing it all obviously over a space of a few days, a week, wherever. It's like one guy asked, he would have expected it to be done by now, and I said, yeah, same here, mate. Life gets in the way, things happen, as we know. It's like today, it's a lovely sunny day. The French Grand Prix is on the telly, which I will be spending a little bit of time watching. It's a Saturday, by the way. I am going to try and get this video out done today, so I'm kind of going to patch it all together. I'm going to try anyway. And you're going to see, you're now seeing like the finished thing first. Why not? Let's just have something a bit different, of a couple of items that I've done, and then I'll try and patch the other videos together, kind of rush through them, if you know what I mean, but show you. Right, I'm now going to turn this off and swap on to this macro lens. Right, welcome back. We're now on this macro lens. Let's get it up close. Like I say, the original video, when I started looking at it all last night, was going over an hour, and I thought, too long, everyone's going to fall asleep. Anyway, here's one of the pulleys. You can see the keyway. I will show you the broaching machine. Well, it was a press, and obviously they'll do a bit of polishing. That's one. This is the second one. Again, I hope the pulley form will do, and that is, you can see with the light down there, I'm flicking my screen on and off here, you can see how it's recessed. Let's just reposition this camera. Right, so I'll explain later on. This is one of the end caps, and you see they fit over there. Now that one needs a bit of fettling. You can feel it rub a little bit. That one's quite free. These fit in the end of here. But I've drilled and tapped, tapped and counterbored a little screw in the end of this sleeve. Like I say, that fits on the end of there. I've done a nice little keyway on there. This fits on. Obviously everything kind of goes together. You can understand with the bearings. Well, we'll see it all together anyway. But that's them done. I'm quite happy with my little broaching that I've managed to do. This was the interesting little tool I ground up. It seems you can see I relieved it around. I think you can see it anyway. Yeah, I think so there. You can see how I relieved it to blend in with the radius. Trying to keep it in focus with this this lens. I'm like saying, that was the tool I made. It seemed like they've done the job anyway. So that's a few components done. A few more off the list. I'm now going to throw together, try not make it too boring for y'all, of how I made these. I'll probably rush through the major diameters and show you some of the squeaky bum things, trying to get that done. That was interesting. Luckily the tool managed it. Like I say, it's a bit ironic. I'm making a tool grinder to make tools, and I ground them tools up by hand. Nice learning curve again. Not done anything like that for ages. All interesting stuff. So now we're going to try and get this edited, and we can go off and watch some bike racing on the telly. See you all in a bit. Now what I plan to do, because I'm limited on my stock, there's 2 milli extra on the stock. I'm going to turn the big diameter as close up to my jaws as I can, flick the face and bore, and then form this V. I'm going to turn it round. Because I've got soft jaws, I'm going to grip it on one of the little flanges on one of my soft jaws. Hopefully they should still be running true, but I'll be able to clock that diameter up, or at least the bore and the form of for the pulley will all be running concentrically with each other, which is something as well, because then when I hold it round, I've got to turn the boss and get the diameter, get the thickness, sorry, of the pulley. I think it's 7.9, so that's got to be pretty consistent all the way around as well. It's achievable, it's a little bit of messing around, but at least it gives me the room to, 1 minute, get my form tool in. This, I won't be doing it this way obviously, but you can see I've got enough room. I'll be able to put it against the back jaws, square it up, obviously that way, and I'll do the same process on the other one. So I've flicked the face, done the OD, I'll probably pilot board the other one. I'm not too sure yet, we'll see when I get there. But anyway, I'm going to crack on and get this one done first. This is where the tool holders are made a while ago, for holding things like this. Once I just wind the grub screws back a bit, there you go. If you remember, I made 2 of these, one for 10mm 3/8 and one for quarters 6mm or smaller. But what I'll do, I'll get the tool just sticking over ever so slightly before I nip it up, and get it on the face of the job to square it all up. Right, got my little boring bar in. Oops, that's better. Going to bore at least the maximum plus a couple of mil, the width of this, the length of this job, and it's got to be a good sliding fit on 13 mil. Final cut now. There's 0.2 on it, and it just wants to be a sliding fit, so if it's a little bit tight, I'm not bothered, I can always polish it later on, but I'll try 0.2 above 13. Now, like I say, I'm not bothered if it's that. That feels good. That's alright. It feels like it needs a slight polish, but that'll do. It's being keywayed anyway. But that's not too bad. Let's see where it measures with the mic. We shall use this one and see how we get on. My light's all over the place so you lot can't see it. Now I've actually got on this 0.2 above 13. Now if that's what it is, that's what we were going for. Oh, 2 there. I'm getting a better feel than using the ratchet, might just be me. But anyway, that we'll have for the bore. Like I say, it doesn't want to be too loose, it doesn't want to be too tight, you can't get the damn thing on. And I can feel a little bit of resistance there. Got some little marks on there, so it's just, but it is going on with the keyway, so that will do. Right, next thing to do is to finish the outside dimensions and all the lengths. Now the drawing's got an overall length from the end, so what I'm going to do is take a light skim on this face and then put in the overall length plus in X. So I will be taking the dimensions back off to a 0. Sorry, in the Z, not the X. The X is diameter. Take a light skim and put the overall length in, because it's got the dimensions stepped using the back as a 0 and coming this way, which will be Z plus. I always have it Z minus that way. So I'll take a light skim, only about 0.2, because it's in metric and imperial, but I'll be doing it in metric. and then work them all back. The next bit to do, as we wobble the camera, this is one of the end caps with a labyrinth seal cut in. Now we've done this ID here to 17.553 and it asks for 17.4 because that has got to slide on there, and I suppose with your aluminium it'll warm up. You're giving yourself 4-5 thou in case of expansion. We'll soon find out when we get it all running. When. Right, so this one, that length. Now this, he says, should go on there. Right, and that spins freely. Now what I've got to do later on, that diameter there, I've got to make, in a sense, I've got to undercut it. So this slides in a recess, if you can understand, hence making the labyrinth seal. And I've got to remember that this I made slightly bigger because of the tool, and I've give 4 on this OD. That OD has got to just slide in there. So and then I've got to make a tool. So it's this diameter up there and then the top diameter. Now on this diameter there's a clearance of 0.2, and mine is slightly different to the drawing because of the tool. And it's rather difficult to get into with the mic. But our tool is staying constant. Got 9.495, got 9.4 on the DRO, and we're going to go down to 8.5, so another 0.1. And just finish this top diameter now. I think was 41.3. Yep. So 08. 08 for that. Sorry if it's gone a bit dull. The light goes off it when you take you pull the saddle back. Now, I want the light actually fixed up here sometimes so it's permanently showing at the job. Right, we're 01 above 41.3, so that's the diameter's done. Obviously we're not going to know if that diameter is going to fit in there yet, because what we've got to form now is an undercut same as that diameter but matching the top of the labyrinth in there, so that slides in. So we've got to make a tool next. Now we're going to start doing these. Let's throw a bit of light on the subject. Oh, we've got to put a groove in there. So what I've started to do is rough this piece of high speed steel out. I've got it down to about 2mm wide. I've worked it out off the drawing. It's got to be 1.65. And as you can see, it's got to go in. I hope you can see. Let's bring you a little bit nearer. Bit of a skew whip angle, I'm afraid, but right. We've got to go in like that to create an undercut under here that will fit in the other end of the labyrinth seal. So I've roughed this out first off. It's just about 2mm wide. I want to keep that face, so I just want to toe it by a degree or two so it doesn't bind. Relieve that face. On that face I'll be putting a little arc in, obviously to follow the radius that's on there. Relieve it on the top and try and get it down to 1.65 wide. I'll go for 1.6. If I can get 1.6 I'll be really happy. So fingers crossed, I'll be back when I've done a bit of grinding. Right, that was fun. If you can see that. I've relieved it at the end, that way round. Tried to keep it parallel with that, but just relieved it ever so slightly there. Put a little relief in under there, and try to keep that radius to match that arc there, because that's what we're trying to form. That, so that will sit in there. So basically that's got to go in there 4.9 deep. So yeah, fingers, everything else crossed. I'll get it all set up and well, we'll see how we go. Now, as luck would have it, somebody made two of these. One that fits that size and one that fits this size. Yay! So the job come in handy. Yeah, might need to make two more at some point just in case, but anyway, that's our holder. It will then be held in another holder and we won't be trying to hold it on nothing in there kind of thing. Oops, let's get you in camera. Nothing there. Anyway, let's get set up again. Right, let's try and get you a better angle, maybe there. Right, I've got this set up. I've squared it up by eye. I've touched on. I've got a touch on with a feeler gauge against that with a 1/1000 feeler gauge 0.04, so I've altered, doubled that up, what the diameter of that was. I'm going to touch on, and I've got to go 4.8. I've got that at 1.6, or just over 1.6 my mic, so I am just going to see how it cuts. Oh, for good fun. A little bit of that. Right, cross everything. Now we're going to start doing these. Let's throw a bit of light on the subject. We've got to put a groove in there. So what I've started to do is rough this piece of high speed steel out. I've got it down to about 2mm wide. I've worked it out off the drawing. It's got to be 1.65, and as you can see, it's got to go in. I hope you can see. Let's bring you a little bit nearer. Bit of a skew whip angle, I'm afraid, but right. We've got to go in like that to create an undercut under here that will fit in the other end of the labyrinth seal. So I've roughed this out first off. It's just about 2mm wide. I want to keep that face, so I just want to toe it by a degree or two so it doesn't bind. Relieve that face. On that face I'll be putting a little arc in, obviously to follow the radius that's on there. Relieve it on the top and try and get it down to 1.65 wide. I'll go for 1.6. If I can get 1.6 I'll be really happy. So fingers crossed, I'll be back when I've done a bit of grinding. Right, that was fun. If you can see that. I've relieved it at the end, that way round. Tried to keep it parallel with that, but just relieved it ever so slightly there. Put a little relief in under there, and tried to keep that radius to match that arc there, because that's what we're trying to form. That, so that will sit in there. So basically that's got to go in there 4.9 deep. So yeah, fingers, everything else crossed. I'll get it all set up and well, we'll see how we go. Well, I'm trying it now with a bit of coolant and continuously running to try and clean any swap and stuff away. I am about 3mm in. Is the depth it recommends. Sorry, I keep it in the camera with my head. I can see a little mark in there. I've not gone full down onto here yet. I mean, it might be, you know, a couple of thou, whatever, because I only touched on with a 1.5 feeler. So if you can imagine it, or it's 0.4 aside off. But let's go and get one of the end caps. Right. You won't be able to see at the moment from that side. That is beginning to go on. It's not going on, but it's beginning to go on. Now it could be a matter of the inside's too tight, the outside's too tight. That tool was a little bit small. So I'm very gingerly going to go in about 0.5 once I've got the tool up here to make sure it's not touching this diameter. Like I say, it's all clearance, but it wants to be at a fit. I'll tell you what, I'll take it off 05 and just run this up now. And we haven't touched this OD here. Thought I had it stuck then. Right, that's still being a little bit tight. So what I'm going to do, the tool is set now at 17.41 for this diameter. I'm going to wind it out that way and wind it back in, because I think I was 0.05 under. The gap should be 1.65, and I think I ground that and I was getting 1.6. So my tool is 0.5 under, but I'm reading diameters. So if I come back to 17.5 and take a little bit off there, now again we took a slither off. Let's see how it's affected this. That's going on more, but I don't know if we're on full depth or not. I'll have to do some sums. I'm going to have to work out the width of this minus that recess, the depth of that. I mean, that's from there. I'd say that's pretty good actually, because that's about 2 mil. But I'll be back in a tick and I'll work some of it out. Right, I've double checked all my figures. What I've done, I've got the other two, got the other cap. If you work out this length here, it's 4.9. So 4.6. Start again. 9.6. Getting there. This is without drugs. This is why it's not for kids. 9.6 from there to there. If I've done a recess of 4.8, when I put that in, if that's 4.9, that should sit in there like it does and spins quite freely, that one. And that gap there should be 4.8 of 9.6, which is 4.8, which is roundabout what it is. It's actually a little bit deeper. No, it's not. No, it depends where you get it. I've got 4.8 there. Now, that's that cap. This is the other cap. When I put that cap in, that cap is binding up. So, that tells me I need to do a little bit of fettling in there. Probably, because one's going on and one's not. Whoops, sorry. Which is telling me that this is running alright. See, that's binding up. That's the other one. And that's going on alright. That's bottoming out. As far as I'm concerned, that's fine. So, and it spins. So it's the cap. That cap tool must have picked up. So I'll have to rub this down at some later date. Make sure that they both fit on both ends. But I'm assuming that's how we should be. We're going to call that a win. Now we've got to form this. If you remember on the last one, we looked at the pulley. See how we look on this one. Now then, I'd say that's like 75% in there. And I'd say that's a little bit less. I think I want to go over that way. Well, like I say, it could be the forming of my tool, but I think I'm okay there. A little bit thick there. So we'll try another little movement over that side. I have got a little bit of rippling there. So I might try just coming onto it full. But that looks a lot better for the form. Right, pulley made. There's the spindle it goes on. That's not a bad fit, that'll do. Now, these aren't finished yet. There's the other one. They're not bad. They're not bad. You can see, not too bad at all. Approximately the right depth. There's one tool. Luckily, one older I made. And there's the that other tool for doing that thing. Ah, right, now then. We did a little bit of fettling. I actually took out, made sure and brushed it a little bit, emery now, and worked out what the depth was. I forgot off the top of my head, but anyway, that goes down and spins. Now I've done it to the tolerance he said. It feels a bit lumpy, so we'll see when it's all assembled. But that one, go on then, call me a liar. There you go. We'll see how they go when they go together. I still say they feel a bit lumpy, and I might get some emery in these at a later date and just rub them out, but they fit in. You can see a little bit, few lines there, but not a lot. I'm not going to alter this. I'll rub these down. Now, like I say, these aren't finished yet. They need keywaying. Right. So, I have, and I've never used these things before. I've made some keyways when I converted a mill yonks ago, well, a few years ago, to a CNC conversion, and I slotted it up and down and wrote a little program for side to side and depth and everything. This one, the 9mm, is a standard keyway. It wants a 3mm key in it. I have a 3mm broach and a 3mm shim. and a sleeve that's for 9mm, courtesy of one of our model engineering suppliers. Now this one is 13mm, and the drawing actually asks for 2.4, or hang on a minute, 2.4 or 3/32. Now for its size, it's not standard for that bore, I think. I don't know. When I look at chart here, it gives you your width and your size and everything, and when you start going up, because that's over 1/2 inch, keys there are supposed to be 1/8, so it's a non-standard one. It's to fit in here. So I think a 2mm would get away on that, and I have a 2mm broach. If it doesn't, it moves. I mean, it's driving that will be grinding, and I can't see why it cannot drive that with a 2mm key. We shall see. So the thing is, I have to make, because I have this sleeve which is 13mm, and which is a nice fit in there, but obviously it's for a bigger broach. Now you think, can you pack it out? I have no idea whatsoever. The easiest thing I would have thought would be to make one of these. It says they're hardened, so if I use some EN8, that'll be fairly hard. All I can do is give it a go. I mean, that's aluminium, so it should go through. So the idea is to make a broach first off similar to that. In, we might as well do the length, doesn't really matter. Length, this boss here, diameter, and then work out, and I suppose it should be fairly easy because we've got a chart which says standard keyway sizes. We're going to do it 2mm. It's supposedly 1mm that way and 1mm that way. Looking at it, 2mm key, depth W, width, and depth T. Now that's there. We'll have to work these out just to make sure I'm doing right, because I think you've got to have your clearance in the shaft. We'll work it out anyway. But if I try and replicate when we can get it out of the box, I try and replicate this slot. If I work it out and try and cross-reference it all with the diameter, with the depth, to see whether it will be the same, it should be. I'm assuming I've got another bush actually, it's 8mm, so what I'm going to do is measure the depth. The width will be the same obviously, because that's got to fit in. These, as far as I know, are the same width, but your depth, that's why you have a shim. That'll go down once, then you put a shim in, that just goes down the once. So I would have thought the depth will be a set. I mean, I suppose if you measure the depth of that and calculate you want it to go in 1mm, you then calculate what your slot's going to be. I'm assuming it's something like that. We'll soon find out. Anyway, so before I key these, before they are then finished, oh, that needs a little keyway in there. So if that's going to be a 2mm key, that's going to be a 2mm wide slot and probably a milli deep, I think, if that works out correct. Who knows? We'll have to find this out as we go along. I suppose as long as it works, it works. Like I say, I've done standard ones and I've worked it out, and it was a while ago when I put some stepper motors on, like I say, a hobby mill conversion. So next thing, I'm going to turn a bush and machine it. I'm going to do that off camera because it's a bush. As soon as I've done that, we'll get back. Right, well, the next thing was, like I say, I had these two sleeves, and that's the 13mm one, and it wants to be a 3mm. Yes, it wants to be a 2.4, but we think we'll get away with 2. Now, obviously, that's not gonna go in there, running them in. So I've made myself a bush. 13mm, bit bigger on there, doesn't really make any difference. Bit shorter, doesn't make any difference. Nice sliding fit for in there, or whichever way round I decide. And that's the brooch. Now I've worked it out on the same kind of drop as what they have in them. The distance that they have, the thickness of that, and it sticks up about 1.15, I think it is. The key's supposed to be, I think, a milli, so the 1.15 might be taken into account a bit the arc, I don't know, but anyway, I've made myself as well. I found a piece of scrap because I'm not going to try it out on that in case I knacker it. So I've got a piece of scrap here, and I'm going to try in there first off, because I've never broached anything in my life. I'm going to get this press set up and lots of lube and something to catch it all, the oil, and press that down, and we're going to see how we go. Right, here goes. Like I say, it's my first attempt at doing this, so I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't think that will pull out, but I'll be back in a tick. I've got a little bit of key steel they say to use to push it through. Right, we've got this little extender in now. Oh, there we go. Hey! So, let's have a look. Ooh. Yeah, I think there's air in this thing. Now then, I've got a keyway in there. So next thing to do is I shall go and measure it and see if it's a milli deep. Right, this has all got the plan. I've had a very taxing weekend. Like I say, I started at the end. I'm just showing you the second pulley. This has just got a standard keyway in it. I've had lots of trouble with my computer this weekend, and I've had to do half of this lot on a laptop later on that took hours and hours and hours. So I'm just showing you the brooch here and what have you. But anyway, you got the general gist with the beginning of the video, hopefully. This has now finished off the pulleys with the keyways, with the spindle, and as I said, some fettling on the end caps. So really, I am going to stop this now and just before I start pressing this key in there. God knows what I was talking about. But thanks very much for watching. I'm going to try and get my computer sorted out because it's an absolute nightmare trying to do it on this small laptop. It's taking me forever and ever. Anyway, thanks a lot. Catch you all soon.